there was a lot of silliness. I get. You know what they call that, Adrian? They call it tomfoolery. Tomfoolery.
All right.
There was a lot of tomfoolery in this movie.
Like Tom Cruise foolery, like he's jumping up and down on the couch in front of Oprah.
I think that's actually the origin of that word. We'll have to look it up one day. We'll do an origin of words on this podcast someday. But yeah, the origin story for the word tomfoolery, I think it's based around Tom Cruise jumping on the couch. You're right. So there was a lot of tomfoolery in this movie. All right. Welcome to another episode of Only Comics. I'm Mike. This is Adrian.
Good morning.
What's up, man?
Been a long weekend, bro.
It has, dude. Nice, cool, brisk New England morning.
Oh, yeah. I love this time of year. This transition, dude. I'm feeling this already.
Problem is we're going to get about 15 minutes of this, and then it goes to freeze your ass off. So
I'm okay with it, man.
Yeah.
My seasons are fall, winter, spring, summer. So I'm good with anything that's coming up.
I hear you, bro. No doubt. Well, we got a fun show today. We got some new segments, Adrian. We got a new movie to review.
Yep.
And we have been accused, Adrian, of having some hot takes at times.
That's okay.
So we will probably see some of that today.
All
I'm
right.
just saying. I made a prediction last week, Adrian. I predicted that we would review Blue Beetle, and we're going to do that. So I was right about that.
Okay.
Why don't we start with a little toe dip? Okay.
All right.
We've not discussed this movie yet, so I saw it yesterday. When'd you go?
I went Friday late.
Okay, Friday late. There was no one in the theater when I went. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there were probably. Unfortunately, there was this. I don't even know what you call him. Heckler, cackle guy, cackle boy. Looked like he was sitting in the all the way in the back in the handicap row with a diaper or something on.
Oh, perfect.
So he was he had this strange laugh. It was creepy, dude.
Yeah.
It was just creepy. You could hear it above everything. So I had that going on.
Oh, that's great.
But the good part about it is that he kept me awake throughout the movie.
Nice. So I guess my other prediction I think is going to be right. I said a couple things. I said this was going to be a good movie, but it was going to bomb at the box office. And based on the fact that I think you, I, and 6 other people were the only people that saw it this weekend, I think I was right. So now I'm going to throw my score out there. You're probably going to be surprised. I can almost hear it in the tone of your voice, Adrian.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this movie an 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to say a 4, maybe a 5, only because DC finally got the notion to shoot a movie in the daylight. It was actually not dark, and they didn't film it in what is it?
James Gunn's garage?
Well, that too, but no, in what's that? Washington State. They didn't film it in Washington State along with the vampires and shit.
Yeah, you're right about that. It was definitely not as dark. So what we're gonna do what we call on Only Comics a toe dip. This means we're not gonna spoil it for you, but we gave our scores. We'll take a few minutes to talk about why we gave it that score. So I'm gonna tell you, Adrian, why I gave it 8, and I can't wait to hear why you're cutting my score in half, bro. But this is a lesson for some of our viewers, Adrian, because we have an opposing view on this film, right?
Yep.
I'm not upset. I don't think you're upset, right? You don't feel attacked if I say I love this movie. And if you say it sucks, I don't feel attacked either.
It didn't suck, but it definitely wasn't the 7 that I predicted that it was going to be.
That's right. You did predict higher. So, but we won't be offended by each other's views. So, y'all watching, maybe you should try that. I mean, we're going to have some hot takes today. Just don't let it hurt your little feelings.
Right.
It's okay. Right? So, I gave it an 8, Adrian. First of all, I enjoyed the representation in this film. As someone who my children are Hispanic, they're actually Mexican and Puerto Rican, and seeing, growing up around those types of families and whatnot, seeing that representation here on the screen, I thought was great. I thought it was true to real life, like the family dynamics and stuff like that. Sure. I really enjoy seeing that on the big screen. I think it's been way too long. It took too long for us to get to see something like that in comics.
Right.
So that's cool. And you're seeing a lot more of that. I mean, we talk, 5-6 years ago with Black Panther.
Right.
We talk about Ms. Marvel a lot here, so you see, different representation there. So I love seeing that. That was great. I thought the story, I thought it was entertaining. I thought the humor was on point. George Lopez really stood out to me as the uncle. I forget his name in the movie, but he really stood out to me. And then the kid, I didn't even really know who this kid was, but apparently he's from Cobra Kai, which I've never watched. Have you ever seen that show?
No.
It's like a continuation of Karate Kid.
Yeah. I was gonna watch that anyway, so I definitely didn't notice him in it.
Yeah, no, one of my kids loves the show, so he was pretty big on this, so we went to see it, my son. But I enjoyed the overall story. I thought the CGI was decent. It was better than some of the recent movies. Right. Much better than The Flash.
Wow.
Yeah, we will get there, guys. Don't worry. Right. Once again, on Only Comics, we will be discussing The Flash because of how bad it was.
Yeah.
It's like that's the bar, dude. Yeah, if you're worse than The Flash, then. I enjoyed it overall. It wasn't too long. That was cool as well. And also wasn't too short. I think it was a good length. A lot of good story packed into it. I enjoyed how it ended. It did end as if they're gonna set up another show or another movie. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see more of this. There was a end credit scene, a couple of them, one of them that kind of teased some stuff that's going to happen next. So I like that. You talked last week, Adrian, about how these companies are not bold anymore.
Right.
And now I wouldn't say this was really bold by them. I think there were some steps that we saw a little bit more boldness than some of their recent films. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like, one of the things that brought this movie down, you gave it an 8. Yeah, I gave it an 8. But if I ranked like the marketing of this film,
right,
and the faith that DC had in the film, I'd give it like a fucking 2.
Right.
I
mean, bold is two parts. Bold is the movie that they make and the content and how they deliver it. But the other part of the bold is what do they do with it after the fact?
Right.
Like you said, the marketing. Where's this movie going to be? Where are the screens going to be? Mm-hmm. What are the audiences going to be? I mean, that's part 2 of the boldness of this, and we can only see. We'll see where they go with this.
Yeah. But I don't think they were bold at all with the market. And matter of fact, I was me and my son were in line. We bought the tickets, and then we're getting some snacks and stuff. And then one of the younger kids who works there, who's probably like 16, 17 years old, right? We just start talking, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I want to go see Blue Beetle." He's like, "But what's up with the marketing?" It's like this little kid. I'm like, you mean how it's non-existent?
Right.
He's like,
wow.
And then we're having like this conversation with me and a few of the kids who work there about all the DC recent films, how they don't market any of them.
Oh wow.
I mean, the Flash, dude. Their marketing plan was ask Tom Cruise what he thinks of the movie.
Right.
Like, and that's not even a joke. We joke about Tom Cruise a lot on this show.
Yeah.
But they legit was like, let Tom watch it. And then they took his feedback and put that out there. Like, for some reason, the comic book fans were going to be so enamored by Tom Cruise's opinion of the film.
Wow. DC, this is something that you should pay attention to. If you have a customer in line and they're discussing with the team that's selling them tickets, the team members that's working in the theater is wondering what's going on with your marketing, you're doing a shitty job
for real
of marketing a movie. That's horrible.
Yep. That ain't a hot take. That's just the truth.
Right.
That was something else. We've been accused of telling the truth on this podcast, Adrian.
Imagine that.
Guilty as charged, right? That is one thing I promise you. You tune in every week with us. One thing is we're going to discuss comics and only comics.
Yep.
With some other things that tie back to comics.
Toe dip into a couple other things.
Absolutely. But the other thing you're going to get here is the truth.
It's the truth.
Straight up, unadulterated truth. Good, bad, indifferent truth, right? So my truth is I enjoy this movie. I recommend going to watch it. Please go see it. I would say that way better than The Flash.
Yep.
Right? So would you agree with that one?
I agree with that, yeah.
All right. Blue Beetle better than The Flash.
Yep.
Blue Beetle better than Guardians 3.
No.
I would say no, a little bit. No, not as good. Not as good as Across the Spider-Verse.
Nope.
Better than Black Adam.
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh.
Nah, dude, I don't even know why you put those two in the same sentence. Shame on you, man.
I know, right? Anyone watching should know. Adrian, I think you are the biggest Black Adam fan of the movie.
Because to me, it wasn't just about the movie.
Yeah.
It was about, I felt like almost like I had superpowers by the way DC made this movie. This was the first time I felt like I was actually in this superhero shoe.
Wow.
And they didn't shoot it in James Gunn's garage. So it's not just about the how good the movie was.
Yeah.
I felt moved into the movie, and cinematically it was great. So
that's a great point, and I like it too. I don't think obviously not as much as you,
right?
But I do like it probably more than the average fan. But we discussed that too at the movie theater. We had a whole blown we should have recorded a podcast with these kids, you know?
Right.
But we had a whole conversation even about that, and they said like Black Adam. I said, dude, Black Adam was better than most of the shit that's been out over the past year.
Right.
But same thing, barely. I mean, their marketing was not great.
Right. And the other thing about Black Adam was that it was like, like a halo moment for DC. We trash DC. I trash DC a lot because they put out such dark, shitty movies.
Yep.
And this was like, one of the better movies that they've made in the sun.
Right.
Kind of a thing. So for me, it kind of redeemed DC. And then, of course, they proceeded to shit on everything else after that.
That was great, right? This movie redeemed you guys. It's going well, and we'll just go throw it in the trash.
Right, exactly.
We'll go throw it in the garbage can behind James Gunn's garage, So this movie, now I have some critiques. I know I said 8. Now, when I say these critiques, I may even chop my score down a little bit.
Right.
But and one of my biggest critiques about this film is actually one of the things that I think you and I both really like about the Black Adam film, the fight scenes.
Right.
The fight scenes in this movie, for the most part, felt like they came out of a Marvel show.
Right.
They didn't look like superheroes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my biggest critique about all this stuff was that they appear to have justified every scene. I won't get into it now. We'll do deep dive later, but they seem to just make the movie longer than it needed to be based on the decisions that they made throughout the movie. So cinematically, it was good.
Yeah.
I thought the actor portrayal was good. It's just that some of the stuff just didn't jive with me.
Okay.
As a person that's looking at a movie.
Yeah.
It just seemed forced. But we'll get into it later.
Yeah. And I do probably agree with that. I think there was some of it that was just like almost too in your face. Like we don't have you don't have to explain everything. You know?
Yeah. There was that.
Like every little aspect. And then it also suffered from what a lot of these movies are suffering from right now is where they want to introduce way too much at once.
Yeah.
It's like guy goes from a nobody to getting, finding this scarab to having all these powers. Next thing you know, he's like crazy power. And it all happens like within seconds.
Yeah. And
we've talked about this here on some shows, origin stories like Iron Man. It's one movie, but it makes you feel like it's, an extended period of time of him learning how to build these suits, use them. Spider-Man. I mean, in any version of Spider-Man, he gets bit. And it takes a little bit to figure out how. I mean, even in the animated ones, Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, Miles didn't have control over his powers for the entire film up until like the last scene of the film.
Right.
And here, this dude's just like, it's scary, and I get a whole different idea of how he gets his powers, but it's that. So my two big critiques are the fight scenes. I need to see more action. I need to see like Black Adam. To your point, dude, when Black Adam is hitting people and they're flying around. You feel it. You do.
Right.
This movie, it was like Cobra Kai. It was like some Karate Kid fucking fights.
It kind of does help when your power is talking to you.
Yes.
Kind of coaching you through how to use itself, So I guess that was cool, but still.
I just want to see more impact.
Four.
I just want to see more impact when they're hitting, when they're fighting. I want it to feel like someone who is super powered. I don't want it to feel like it's, me and you fighting some guys down the road.
Right. And when does an alien from another planet care about killing people?
Right.
Oh, Jaime, we don't kill. Really?
Yeah, you were just trying to kill earlier. So there you have it. I'm gonna knock it down. I'm gonna say 7.5. 7.5. After going through a little, that's what I'm sticking with. 7.5. You're saying 4?
Yeah, a hard 4.
Hard 4.
Maybe 4.5.
All right.
As we're talking through it, but definitely a hard 4.
Got it. And that's the thing. We can be swayed too. We're not we're not so stubborn and dug in our heels.
Right.
But you got to make a good case. And I just talked myself out of an 8, and you talk yourself up to a 4.5. So who knows? All right. So that's it for the Tone Dip. I highly recommend going to watch it. there are some rumors about this movie, really, or seeing more of Blue Beetle moving forward. Mm-hmm. However, we talked about this a little bit last week with James Gunn being afraid to really go all in on this movie because he at one point said this is the beginning of the DCU. Then he says the Superman Legacy is the beginning of the DCU. So it sounded like, to me, if I'm interpreting this, Adrian, sounds like he was waiting to see how this movie did before he made a decision if he was going to include, the Blue Beetle in the story moving forward.
Right. I don't highly recommend going to see this movie, but I do recommend going to see this movie. Just like the Marvels, just like Black Panther, there's a lot of culture in this, and I enjoyed that. Quite frankly, if it wasn't for the culture part, it'd probably be Flash level. Yeah. To me, no, it wouldn't have been Flash level. It would not have been a 4. Probably like a 3 or 2, something along those lines. But I do recommend going to see the movie. It was visually very appealing. It's just that for me, it seemed forced. Yeah. It seemed like a lot of stupid things were happening. But we'll get into that in a deep dive.
Oh yeah, we will. Guys, if you like what you see, like what you hear, hit the subscribe button so you can learn find out when we're dropping new videos. We had a new segment. We had 2 new segments. Mm-hmm. We're gonna introduce this week. Mm-hmm. One we're gonna introduce next week, right? Okay. So we're gonna go through our news first, but I'm just gonna tease it. One of our new segments is called Hidden Gem. Okay. And this is where I rely on you, Adrian, because you have a vast knowledge of comics, and also a vast knowledge of like what I'd call maybe obscure characters. Okay. Characters that are not always the most popular. You seem to kind of have this like core of character. Like you've shared a handful with me since we've been doing this I've never even heard of. Okay. So every week you're going to provide us with a hidden gem. All right. And then we're going to discuss it. I'm really going to be asking you questions because these are your characters, Right. So today it is someone by the name of Guardian. Right. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But with our news flash, buddy. Wonder who our buddy's going to be this week, Adrian. You never know. You never freaking know on Only Comics. I mean, Andy Muschietti's been, 5-6-time reigning champ, right. Maybe. Yep. Gunn's had it a couple times. Yep. Your boy, Ali. Yep. Ali Salim. I think he finally did ride his bicycle off into the sunset. Right. I haven't heard anything about him, anything he's doing. I mean, maybe he hit Daytona Beach and just kept on pedaling. Maybe, dude. Maybe he's like Forrest Gump when he ran. He just kept running. Like I want to keep running. I think he's just riding his bike across the country. But speaking of Ali, Secret Invasion. I came across an interesting article. It was actually on Forbes. And the question it posed was Secret Invasion purposely designed to be ignored by the Marvels? Mm-hmm. And then it kind of dug into some other shows, and it had me thinking, we talk about being bold, right? Mm-hmm. Talk about not playing it too safe. Now, let me ask, before I even give you my stance, Adrian, do you think that a show like Secret Invasion was designed to kind of be a take it or leave it, like if you watch it, great, but if you don't, it doesn't really matter? No, I just think they made a bad show, and now they're trying to spin it. I felt it was bad. Yeah. But, after reading about it, other people, this was horrible. Yeah. This was like the Game of Thrones of the comic book world kind of a thing. Well, not the entire Game of Thrones, just the last show. But so no, I don't think they had the forethought to introduce this movie like that. They messed up. Yeah. It's plain and simple. Now, one thing I'll say, though, so I think that, this is my theory, I think they build themselves a safety net in. Mm-hmm. I think when they're doing these shows, I'd be willing to bet on this, that when they're talking to the writers, when they used to pay them, or actually, I'm sorry, when they were, when the writers were okay with not getting paid, when they were still on the show, now they're on strike. So, and hey, by the way, you've heard it here before, pay the people. Pay the people. Pay them so we can have more stuff to talk about and y'all can make money and everyone will be happy. But I believe a conversation like this happens. I believe they go, if you're directing my show, Adrian, and I'm Kevin Feige, I go, Adrian, do me a favor. Whatever you do on this show, however it starts, I need it to end the same way. Mm-hmm. I need this show to live in its own little bubble. Mm-hmm. You can tie into other stuff, but by the end of the show, like for this one, for example, Nick Fury. I believe Ali and whoever was writing was told, all right, Nick's leaving the ship in the beginning, and at the end of the show, he needs to get back on the ship. Right. Because he needs to be there for the Marvels. With his +1. And I think they design them and write them in a way where if you do watch them, it's an added benefit. Mm-hmm. There's more. It's almost like it's a lot like their comics, right? You know, Marvel has mainline comics,
right,
and then they have other comics. Like, let's say they have an Avengers comic running, right? Mm-hmm. There's going to be maybe a Captain America comic, Iron Man comic that's happening at the same time that ties into it, but you don't necessarily need to read it to read the main story.
And that's cool, but I don't believe that was their intention. Okay. I think they just threw some shit up on the wall and just saw what stuck. I think that's how they made this movie.
Gotcha. Now, here's why I'm going to double down, though. So that's on one show.
Right.
WandaVision. You like this one.
Yep.
Was it better than Black Hat Night? I'm trying to get you, Adrian. Was it better than the Blue Beetle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Now, WandaVision, if you watch it, you've seen Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Yep. Almost said Multitude of Madness. You've seen that. I've seen that. I go back and forth on that film. Depends on the day. So it's like some days I like it, some days it annoys the shit out of me.
Right.
Depends on the mood I'm in. Depends on the weather outside, I guess.
There you go.
Know? There you go. So today I actually like it. But let me ask you this question. If you didn't see WandaVision, would it have had a major impact on Doctor Strange? No. So same thing there. It's like we have the story. Now, if you do watch it, does it add a little bit to Doctor Strange?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You understand Wanda's, arc a little more. You understand why she's so upset. Understand why, because if you don't see WandaVision, the last time you saw Wanda was in Endgame, and then she had just lost Vision. So, but you didn't know anything about her kids.
Right.
And that's what you learned in WandaVision. And then there's the other one. Now, there are a couple. So I guess it's not a blanket rule, I don't think. But like the Captain America series. What outside of, what's his name? Sam actually taking the shield, having that torch kind of passed down to him. What really happens in that movie that is going to play a major role moving forward?
Nothing significant.
Nothing. And I think it just explains, there's a couple, though. Ms. Marvel, I believe that one you need to see.
Absolutely.
Because the bangle, the whole deal is going to tie into the Marvels. I think that Ms. Marvel and WandaVision are going to play more into the Marvels than Secret Invasion.
I hope so. I hope those two shows, I hope they do more with those shows.
Yeah.
I hope we see, Miss Marvel, the character more often.
Yeah.
As much as I hope we see the Sonya character.
Yes.
I would love to see her more. So these are they in the grand scheme of things. It's almost like if Ironheart showed up in a Iron Man comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see her there, but I'm not gonna go and buy all the Ironheart comic books just to find out about it. She showed up. Okay, you don't really need to explain who she is and her origin, and the fact that she's allergic to peanut butter. You don't need to explain all that stuff. The character showed up, had an impact, and went away. And that's what I think these things are. But the problem is they make these shitty movies, and then they spin all this stuff about whether it should or should not be integrated. Listen, just every time you decide to make a show or a movie, do your best. There's some saying about if you did your best today, then that's the best that you can be expected, or some nonsense like that.
Right.
Just put out quality stuff, and then we don't have to have all these retractions, all these, what did they mean, and blah, blah. It's a waste of time. Just do as best as you can. And if, this Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel crap that you put out was the best you could do. If this Blue Beetle stuff, if all these crappy movies that have come out recently is the best that you can do, you know what that means? What happens when the players don't play well on the field?
They get replaced.
No, they fire the coach. They're not firing their coach in here. Feige,
true.
All these directors.
Yeah.
While the writers aren't getting paid, the actors aren't getting paid, the directors are still getting paid, and they're still making shitty shit.
Yeah.
So if you are unable to produce or direct a good piece of content, move.
Yeah.
Do us all a favor and just go away. Go with Ali, make it a 2-seater, get on the basket, get on the handlebars, whatever you do. You two guys just go away.
it's interesting take because we talk a lot about the actors, right? You're known, Adrian, for taking a shot at the older actors at times, right? Because you're like, dude, let the young guys play them. Are we seeing the same thing, to your point, with the directors, the executives, the producers? Have they overstayed their welcome? Has it been too long? Like, they've given us great content. I mean, the Infinity Saga was amazing, right? First 10 years of MCU movies. But is it something where, like, should there be term limits? Like lifelong politicians. Is that what we got going on here?
I think so. I think there should be something, but the problem is that the CEOs of these companies that are hiring these directors, they know even less about the properties that and the properties being the shows, right? They know less about the properties than the people that's supposed to be directing the shows.
Yeah.
So they're relying on these guys or girls to produce something, and they just allow them to just sit there and just take one bad shit after the next bad shit after the next bad shit, and with no repercussions.
It's a lot of bad shit.
All the in all this time, they're firing the actors that are popular.
Yep.
Cavill, Godot, all these people. They're firing the popular actors. They're keeping on these distressed, estranged people, Ezra.
Yep.
Right. And they're just pumping out this bad content.
Right.
They're not paying, the actors or the writers, but these directors are allowed to just sit there and just make one mistake after the next mistake after the next mistake with no repercussions. So yeah, it's like old senators.
Yeah.
You just sit around, get a paycheck. You're 900 years old,
drooling
off in the corner somewhere.
Freezing up at the damn podium.
Right. You have no significance whatsoever, but you're just allowed to be there for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, dude.
Anyway, that's my rant.
It. And then, hey, back to the boldness. I think that's also a problem. That's like, if you're putting all this money behind these projects, you have all this faith in the directors and the writers, but then you're afraid to bet on them,
right?
Like that doesn't help, I mean, Marvel does. They do now with their movies. They overhype them recently, right? But with their shows, they market their shows like DC markets their movies.
Right.
They tell like 4 people about it and just throw it up on Disney Plus, and then people like you and I watch it because we're diehard fans.
Right.
But most the average consumer, like, it's almost like Marvel's becoming, or even comic stuff is becoming more niche than anything.
Right.
It was a pop culture phenomenon during the 5 years ago.
Right.
And now it's like the fan base that was out watching Infinity War, Endgame, these big movies, a good percentage of them have kind of tuned out.
Right. Because of this shitty content that they're dumping out.
You can only lie to someone so much. Like, hey, this movie's going to be this day. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. And then we get like an average movie.
Right.
Almost like, I'd rather you just tell me it's going to be an average movie.
Well, in their minds, they're game changers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Everything's a game changer. Oh, this is going to blah, blah, blah. And it just ends up to be crap. You know what? If the same amount of crap is coming out of the same body, get rid of the body.
There you go. All right, next up, Armor Wars. So there's some talk about Rhodey's character, or I'm sorry, Rhodey. Don Cheadle plays James Rhodes. We saw so I guess one of the plot lines from Secret Invasion that we will see continued into Armor Wars is Rhodey being a Skrull. We're going to find out for how long. Most people think it was right around Civil War time.
Yep.
So we assume that he probably didn't even know that Tony Stark died. Like, so there's a lot of intrigue there. But what they're saying is that one of the reasons why Armor Wars is now going to be a movie is that they're gearing up to make Rhodey basically the Iron Man replacement character. For this next saga. Basically, the yes, same type of suit, tech, and all that, but I guess also that role that Iron Man Tony Stark played is the role that James Rhodes is going to play moving forward. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you my take, Adrian.
Sure.
I think this is a horrible idea.
Okay.
I think, to your point of these actors being older, the first saga was 10 years, right? Do we got 10 years of Don Cheadle playing Rhodes? Like, my man's going to be in his 60s by then.
Right.
Now, I know he puts on a suit and stuff, so it's not like we have to believe that he's actually all powerful or whatnot. But it's also, Why? I thought originally, and now they've the way they set up Spider-Man, I really enjoy. But I thought originally Spider-Man was going to play that Iron Man type role, and then you have Doctor Strange, who is another one who could play that type of role, right? That leader, that. But I like this arc or this change we've seen with Rhodes, but I don't think I like the character enough to put that much on his shoulders.
Right. Well, the Rhodes character in the comic books has replaced Tony Stark as Iron Man on many occasions.
Yeah.
Tony, was going through all the stuff that he was going through. So, the point of the armor is you don't know who's underneath it.
Right.
And Rhodes has taken over, the Iron Man suit many a times.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think it's too soon.
Yeah.
We haven't seen enough development of the Iron Man character to now be replaced.
Right.
The Tony Stark character to be completely replaced. I think there is room for both, the Iron Man and the what's the other dude, the other armor?
War Machine.
Yep. I think there's space for both of those.
Yeah.
But to just replace Tony Stark altogether, the character, an iconic character, it's too soon.
Yeah.
We haven't seen all the adventures of the Tony Stark character as Iron Man to now be replaced with James Rhodes.
Right.
So it's not that he can't do it. He's done it.
Yeah.
In the comics, it's actually a nice. It makes sense to progress to have James Rhodes replace Tony Stark, but I just think it's too soon to replace Tony Stark.
Now, I don't even think they're talking about him being actually Iron Man, but just filling that void of what Iron Man meant to the stories, being a main focus, being kind of that leader. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to see, because you always talk about the sideline characters, right? The Robins, the Nightwings.
Right.
I don't know if I wouldn't want to see Robin take over as the main focus of a Batman universe.
Oh, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
It
could be for a period of time, maybe a movie, things like that. But to just draw this out, to infinitum, I don't believe that would be a good fit. I agree with that.
No, not at all. So, if that's what you guys are doing, bad idea. And here's a take for you. Let's stop trying to fill the voids that these popular characters played in this first saga. Like, they've already done. We had Hawkeye. They replaced Hawkeye with Girl Hawkeye, right?
Yep.
Right. We had Black Widow. We replaced Black Widow with her sister now. Right. You had Captain America. We replaced Captain America with Captain America.
Right.
Like, we replaced Falcon with another Falcon. Like, there's so many characters to pick from.
Right.
And I think one of the things that Marvel's doing is what shoot themselves in the foot is instead of trying to make a new story, they're trying to recapture the magic they had with this first Infinity Saga and just put like another different coat of paint on it with because here's another thing. The Infinity Saga, Adrian, was all based off of the gems, the stones, right?
Right.
And we're seeing in this next saga, this multiversal saga, this is another prediction here. It's all based off of these ancient weapons and artifacts,
right?
The bangle, the 10 rings from Shang-Chi. There's so many other weapons. There's there was some shit in Guardians. Like they're all over,
right?
The even you didn't really watch it. Moon Knight. There's some type of artifact there with powers, and Kang, who was supposed to be the Thanos-like character. I believe these weapons, these tools they play some type of role into multiversal war, travel, so on and so forth. Right now, it feels like this is the next Infinity Stone story.
So this is where Big Brother comes in, right? So I predict that in 10 to 20 years, we're going to have, like in Independence Day, aliens over our cities,
like
right?
Legit. You ain't talking about
like legit.
Yep.
You walk outside and you drop your ice cream because you can't even see the sun because this ship is in the sky.
Yep.
Well, it's almost like the movies is helping the government get you ready for this invasion. False flag. Anyway, it's almost like the movies are helping you get ready by moving all this stuff to out in space and this galaxy and this multiverse and all of this other kind of crap. what makes a popular comic book movie? Why is Spider-Man so popular? Because he's local. Why is Daredevil so popular? Because he's local. Why is Batman so popular? Because he's local. Stop trying to push everything out into space and make this stuff so intergalactic. And the unit, not your town is no longer in danger.
Right.
Your planet is no longer in danger. Your entire universe is now in danger. So they have to bring in all of this crap. It's too much. There's people that cannot process this stuff.
Right.
So bring it back, DC, Marvel, make it local, and you'll be good. Stop trying to go out and bring in and reinvent all of this stuff. Yeah, these characters get old or older. Yeah, they can't jump out of a flying ship doing flips in a 500-pound costume anymore. Then guess what you do? You don't kill the character off. You replace them with other upcoming actors and actresses.
Yep.
That's the way it works. You got too much content in the comic books to start killing off people now. Spider-Man's been around for 50 years. Batman, Bruce, all of these characters have been around. Pull from the comic books, make more, take from that content, make better movies, and you'll be fine. Stop trying to replace everybody with every other person.
Yeah. And, about the whole everything is the universe is at stake. I understand building to a big movie like that.
Sure.
But don't have 10 movies before it where the universe was also in danger, because we're supposed to believe that, this is such a huge threat that you need to pull all these characters, together, right?
Right.
So my question would be, all right, so if the universe was also at stake in Ant-Man, where was everyone else then?
Right.
Why was this universal threat, so much worse than this one?
Right.
Let's have more grounded threats, like Daredevil. Dude, the show is about him in his own fucking neighborhood fighting criminals.
Right. Right.
And it doesn't get stale, doesn't get boring.
Nope.
It's brutal as hell. I mean, they even the Batman movie, the one that we were going back and forth with, the Pattinson Batman.
Uh-huh.
It's not the whole world's at stake, dude.
Nope.
It's just Gotham.
Yep.
Just Gotham. And it was a 3-hour movie. It was longer. They're building a whole universe around it. They didn't have to do, Batman saving the entire fucking universe.
Right. Right. I don't even like when Batman is, but he can't do that alone, even though he does do that sometimes. He'll go sneak off and do some stuff, go and stab Thanos in the back or something like that and then come back home. But but for the most part, the reason that he's so popular is because people can see themselves as that character.
Right.
You're not going to see yourself as a Gaia. I don't even know when you can introduce a Gaia at this point, because and they're also setting themselves up, the directors in these companies, because if you make threats and characters so powerful, so overwhelming, then how do you recover from that?
Right.
How do you win when a person can show up, snap their fingers, and the universe is gone?
Yep.
What do you do next?
Exactly.
So you're setting yourself up.
Definitely. Speaking of setting themselves up, Thunderbolts. This is a movie that who's asking for this? Who wants to see? Now, so far, this is what I know about the film. It looks like a wannabe Suicide Squad. Right. We have Yelena.
Yep.
Natasha's sister, right? Who Florence Pugh plays her. Great character. We have Bucky.
Yep.
Sebastian Stan's character. He's in this. The dude, U.S. agent from the Captain America show.
The murderer.
The murderer. Yeah, this fucking psychopath. He's in it. We got the dude. What's his name? Is it Red Guardian? The guy from Black Widow's stepdad or whatever.
Right.
We got him. We got Taskmaster.
Yep.
And then we have the chick from the second Ant-Man movie, Ghost. I think that's her name.
Yep.
The one who's phasing in and out. This is the squad. They're putting them together for God knows what reason, right? Now, I've heard Thunderbolts, but I never. First of all, the name's stupid. No, I would never read anything called Thunderbolts.
Right.
So I'd never read a Thunderbolts comic. Have you?
No, but I thought that Thunderbolts was this futuristic anime from the 80s.
Really?
Where they had rockets and all this. They were the planet's defenders and stuff. Look that up. It's a I think it's a animated story about this family that goes out and saves the planet with rocket ships and stuff. That makes sense.
Well, that's definitely not what this shit is. But the reason why this is on our news docket this week is Marvel's doing it again. They're making these claims. We were just talking about this, Adrian, where they say a bunch of shit, right? Like, this movie is going to change. This movie will change your life. This movie. Remember those old Red Bull commercials? Red Bull give you wings.
Right.
That's what Marvel and DC, or mostly Marvel, do. They lie. I drank Red Bull before. Never grew no fucking wings. I watch these movies, and they're not game-changing, genre-changing, life-changing, whatever. So Marvel's Thunderbolts director claims the film won't be a sequel to any other MCU movie. It'll be a standalone experience, and it says that it's going to have a story of its own. They talk about how amazing this movie is going to be. It's another installment in Marvel's vast universe. Blah blah blah. All this bullshit. And now, first of all, I don't think any movie in this MCU is going to be a standalone film anymore.
Right.
And I think my issue is more not about these claims, but just like we were just talking about, why put this movie out? And it goes back to this theory of there's too much content.
Right. I don't know. The Thunderbolts, it sounds like it's a government assassination team, like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I see no relevance in it. So, again, I think they're splitting themselves. Instead of making quality product, they just putting out a bunch of mediocre shit.
Yeah.
That's just what it seems like to me. Everybody gets their own show. Everybody's popular. Everybody gets whatever. It's just they're doing too much in the arena of they're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
Bring all that shit back in. Have a huddle. Put together some. Look at all the the dozens of decades of comic book content. Draw some stuff from that and just make good movies. Stop trying to give everybody their own comic book. You can't do with movies what you can with a comic book.
Right. So now with this cast, I look at these characters and which one of these would I want to see in another movie or show? Dude, nothing about Ghost. I don't want to see her again.
No.
The Red Guardian, he was funny, but if there's no Black Widow, do you really care about seeing Red Guardian?
Right.
I mean, Yelena, I like to see more of her. Taskmaster, I would not like to see any more of Taskmaster. U.S. Agent, I could care less.
Right.
And then now Bucky. This is maybe this will be my hot take this week, Adrian. Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what happened with Bucky. Okay, he was in the first Cap movie, right? He was Cap's like best friend. We thought he died. Second movie comes back as Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is one of my top MCU movies. Played a great villain. By the end of the movie, we learn that it's actually Bucky. And then we see his character really progress throughout Civil War. That's part of what this big divide between Tony Stark and Captain America, that added to it, I guess. And then I feel like after that movie, it's kind of like, remember in Dark Knight when Joker was talking to all the gang members and he's criticizing them for having their meetings in the daytime now. And
Right.
He goes like, what did he cut your balls off?
Right.
That's what they did with my man Winter Soldier. They cut his fucking balls off.
Wow.
They neutered him, dude. They have these powerful characters, right? Like Winter Soldier was a badass.
Agree.
He was beating the shit out of Cap through half of the movies. Right? Like killing people. I mean, he killed Tony's parents. Yes, he was under mind control this whole deal. But then they fix him, and it's like they neutered my man.
Right.
Like, do you even care about his character anymore?
Well, I mean, I've never really cared about the character, but he's also a strong contender for a Captain America replacement.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have even made sense for them to replace Steve Rogers with this Bucky guy as Captain America.
Yeah.
I don't think that those two could share the scene, the same space. It's kind of like a Peter Parker, Morales thing. They can't be in the same universe at the same time.
Right.
So
without one of them being neutered.
Right. I think they probably purposefully neutered the Bucky character because he was such a strong contender for the Captain America role.
Yeah.
It's almost like how they created the English version of Captain America, Captain Britain, or the Canadian version of Captain America through The Guardian.
Right.
So
Which we'll talk about later.
Which we'll talk
Stay
about
tuned.
later. Right. But I think he was too strong. The fact that he was kicking his ass through most of the movies, he's too strong of a contender for them to be in the same space at the same time. So somebody had to go, and it wasn't going to be the Captain America character.
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up about him playing Cap because if if you take all the feelings out of it and you think about how each character was set up and what they put in, how they built these characters. Falcon, he's a regular human, right? He's just a guy who's got some tech. He's got a wing, or he's got his Falcon suit or whatnot. Bucky, like Steve Rogers, is a super soldier. He's got the bionic arm. He, in a one-on-one fight, it's funny. It's a little test, Adrian. We're gonna do a segment coming up. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna announce it right now. We're doing a tournament on Only Comics, Adrian. It's a one-on-one tournament, 32 competitors, and we're gonna find out. I'm gonna call it the King of the Comics tournament. Okay, we're gonna pick them. We're going to pick all 32 participants, and then we're going to discuss them each week here until we find a winner. We're going to talk about their power sets, who they are, what they do, and we're going to pick a winner if these guys were to go one-on-one, right?
Cool. Works for me.
So that being said, let's just hypothetically say one of the matches were Falcon versus Winter Soldier.
Yep.
I don't even need to get into the power set. Winter Soldier's beating the shit out of Falcon and taking that match.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as soon as you said Winter Soldier, that was a wrap.
Yeah. So to your point, who would it made more sense to take over the shield?
Right.
Would have been Winter Soldier.
Right.
Because of the power set, right?
Yep.
So it's almost like you said, they were forced to neuter him so that he could. They almost wanted us to forget that he was as powerful as he was.
Right.
So we felt better about Sam Wilson taking over, the Cap name.
Right. Right.
But so I don't think that's strong enough for the Newsflash Buddy Award. But James Gunn, he's up next. James Gunn. Now James Gunn, he's doubling down on Blue Beetle's future in the DCU. So Tom Cruise was watching last week. He heard our critique about them not going all in on Blue Beetle. He sent James Gunn a text. They met in the garage where they film all the DC movies at, the really dark one.
Right.
And now he's doubling down on Blue Beetle's future. This is the stuff that pisses me off, though. Because why didn't you do this shit 2 weeks ago before the movie came out?
Right.
You're doubling down as the movie's bombing in the box office. Hey, that would have helped like 2 weeks ago when y'all were barely marketing this fucking movie. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, outside of here, where have you heard anything about Blue Beetle?
Well, you really haven't. But, you got to give him credit for coming out now and moving forward with this thing.
Yeah.
But the problem was, what the problem was? Tom was too busy recovering from his Mission Impossible stunts, right? Mm-hmm. That he does himself.
Yeah, all 13 movies.
Right. So he was little vacation away. So he didn't have time to review the Blue Beetle movie himself.
Okay. That's what
and so now he's just getting back to Gunn.
Okay.
So now he can come out a week later, talking all of his.
He should have asked Stephen King. He ain't doing anything. I mean,
true.
Or your man Ali. I mean, but I think he's so far. Like he's not in. He's got no cell service where he's riding his bike now.
He's pedaling underwater, man. He hit the beach and he's just keep on going.
Yep.
He's like what's that character where he's like impossible once he starts walking. I got to look him up.
Just keeps going.
Yeah.
Do you remember Weekend at Bernie's when they just play the music and the old guy, like, he's dead? But it's like that. They're playing the music and Ollie's just pedaling, dude. He is just pedaling. So, but James now, previously he said that Superman Legacy was going to be the first movie in his new cinematic universe, but now he considers Jaime Reyes as the first character to exist in this reboot. So I guess they have confirmed, thank you, a week or two too late, but they have confirmed that Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes' character, is the first DCU character. So we are going to see more of this. But I think it's too late.
I mean, even though I gave the movie a 4.5, I do think that the Blue Beetle movie has a space in the theater.
Yeah.
Considering all the stuff that's going on. I hope the character and the movie itself develops kind of like an Iron Man thing.
Yeah.
Nobody really knew what Iron Man was going to do, and then just got better and better.
Right.
I hope that this is the case with the Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't bet the farm on it.
No.
I also would not bet everything else that's happening on this character.
Yeah.
Because in the end, he's a sidekick character.
Yeah, he is, definitely. The other thing about these movies, with DC, they're in this reboot phase. I think we also, as a whole, need to kind of reconsider what success is for these movies, because they're not Marvel.
Right.
We can't expect a DC movie to go out, one of these first movies of this new story, go out and do $1 billion at the box office.
Right.
Marvel's, I mean, they've had a 10-year head start on this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're criticizing Marvel movies that, sell probably 5 times as much as the DC movies.
Right.
But they're not doing what they did before. But it's also, this is a whole new, I mean, to your point, this is like the first Iron Man movie.
Right.
No, Iron Man 1 didn't do $1 billion.
Nope.
I don't know what it did. It probably didn't even do $500 million.
Right.
But it was the start of a story. So here's what I'd love for James Gunn to do. Go to your dark garage, okay? Go pick your fucking balls up, okay? Put them back on and go all in on these movies and start betting on your stuff. Have some faith in what you're putting out and stand behind it. Because it's kind of like, from a fan's perspective, if the studio's not even standing behind their own work, why should I care about it? Why should I have any faith if y'all don't?
Right. And stop saying that every movie is a game changer. I mean, that's different than so I make something and I'm like, you know what? I did my best. I'm excited about it. Yep. We're going to put everything behind it. Let's go. And if it flops, it flops. And you learn from your mistakes,
right,
and you go back and you make other good movies. Now, after 2 or 3 of them, the CEOs of these studios should be like, James, I don't think you're the man.
Yeah,
we need to find somebody else.
Absolutely.
Just like you just switched out actors and you don't pay your people. I think the CEOs of these companies, these platforms, should be like, dude, you're not doing it for us.
Right.
We need to find somebody else that has a different vision because yours is not working.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm saying, who's my buddy this week? Listen, bud, it's my buddy James Gunn. He's my buddy. I want you, James Gunn, to first of all continue not filming movies in your dark garage. Right. So we got a plus there.
Yep.
But I really would love to see the studio stand more behind their movies, put more into the marketing, have some faith in this, give this thing a real shot.
Right.
Because this is also, in my opinion, the perfect time for them to do this, because Marvel's stale right now.
Right.
The MCU is, I don't know that the Marvels is going to change the game. I don't know that, and they've actually not really said that with this movie.
Right.
It sounds like what the marketing plan for that one is to tell us how funny it is.
Right.
Because that's what the director was saying, I guess about a week ago, was that this is one of the most silly, wacky movies in the MCU.
What, the Marvels?
The Marvels, yeah.
Wow.
Does that make you excited?
No, it's like, I already have one reason to not watch it, which is Brie Larson. Now you're gonna try to make it. I mean, why don't you just make it a musical?
Yeah.
Which I hate. I saw a Star Trek musical the other night. I was like disgusted. But why don't you just make it a musical?
Yeah.
What other crap you gonna throw into this to make it worse than what it is?
Right.
You know?
So yeah, but to their credit, they've not said that about that movie. They've not said that the Marvels is going to change the game yet. They just said it's going to be so silly and wacky. So I guess we'll see.
Wow.
Yep. So next up, there's a rumor out there. See, we're gonna give, we saved the dessert for last. Okay, we gave you all the bullshit up first. We made you eat your veggies. We gave you all the bad news. This, I think, if this rumor comes true, I will be a big fan of this. There's a rumor that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is going to show up in the next Venom movie, Venom 3.
Okay.
One of my biggest critiques about these Venom movies, I've not seen Morpheus, where Jared Leto plays the vampire dude or whatnot.
Yep, I saw it.
You saw it? Was it any good?
I thought it was decent. It was entertaining, but toward the end, they get into some ridiculousness, and it just kind of drifted off of me.
Was it better than the Blue Beetle?
Let me think about it. I give you. I'm kind of stumped on that one.
Morpheus, or is it Mobius? What's it called?
Mobius.
Mobius. Was it better than Black Adam?
Definitely not.
Okay. All right. Was it better than the Flash?
I'm no longer going to answer those type of questions.
So there's not a movie that's not better than the Flash that I'm going to ask you about.
Like I said last week, the turtle watching. Yeah. Anything is better than, I won't say anything, but, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. So you would say the Venom movies are better than the Flash.
Oh, absolutely. I was actually surprised by the Venom. I watched the first one.
Yep.
I saw the second one, I think. I didn't see the first one. I was actually surprised by it. It was entertaining enough. It did not suck.
Yeah. I got to finish the second one because I don't know. I lost interest about halfway through. But Anyway, so there's a rumor that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man will show up in the Venom 3 movie. And one of my critiques about these movies we were just talking about, the Mobius, the two Venom movies, there's a Craven movie coming out.
Right.
There's movies for all these Spider-Man villains that are not showing up in the Spider-Man movies.
Right.
And then we have all these Spider-Man villain movies, and there ain't no damn Spider-Man there.
Right.
Imagine a movie with the Riddler, Joker, Two-Face. They're building this whole universe, and there's no Batman or Robin there.
Right. And that's what I mean by they're splitting hairs. They're creating all this extra content for no reason whatsoever instead of doubling down and making a very good superhero movie.
Yeah.
You know, they're not focused.
Right. No, they're not. So if this rumor is true, Andrew Garfield putting on the Spider-Man tights again for Venom 3, you think it's a good idea?
No, I don't. Isn't that the version where he was like the web was coming out of his body?
No, that was Maguire.
Oh,
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire?
Yeah, he had him coming out of his wrist.
Yeah, that was dumb. But anyway, no, I didn't. I didn't like the Garfield version of Peter Parker.
No, who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Tobey Maguire.
Really?
I mean, not Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland,
newer one.
Yeah. And then Tobey Maguire, obviously second because that's actually one of my favorite was the guy in the 70s or 80s.
Okay.
The first Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah. He was pretty cool at it. Of course, they didn't have all the stuff they have now, the CGI, the green screen, all that kind of stuff. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you couldn't put babies in microwaves back then in movies and shows.
Oh my God, I was thinking about that coming over here. I'm like, Flash, dude, the babies and I don't think they could have did a worse visual.
Yeah. I saw a rumor. I think it was just bullshit, but they said that Ezra improvised that scene.
Of course he did. Of course,
or it was like his idea or something like that.
Of course he did. That's why it's so stupid.
Yeah. Well, it would make sense because he did kidnap someone and their child, so why not throw some babies in the microwave too while you're at it? Man, all these little subtle. So I actually really enjoyed Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really enjoyed his Spider-Man's Peter Parker. I thought it was fun. It was true to comics, entertaining. So I would be all for seeing this. Really, I'd be all for seeing any Spider-Man in these Venom or this whole villain verse they're building, I guess. Right. But I think Andrew Garfield, I think it's a safe bet because, Tobey's the first one. He got his trilogy. That's kind of like that iconic role, right? Like, I don't think we need to see more Tobey Maguire.
Right.
I think I'm done. Tom Holland, I kind of want to keep him in his grounded story.
Right.
And have him, meet some new villains. And this one is kind of a somewhat established universe. And Garfield never got that third film. Amazing Spider-Man 2. I actually really like the movie. I think the ending gets a little messy, but the story with him, Gwen, we get to see death of Gwen Stacy in that movie. I enjoyed most of that movie. Yeah. So I do think it sucks that we didn't get to see a third Garfield film. So this could kind of serve as that, almost like how Deadpool 3 is serving as another Wolverine film as well, right? So I would be all for it. I hope this rumor's true.
I could watch it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, because I was just put off by the whole web coming out of his wrist. Which you're right, Tobey Maguire, because he got exhausted or whatever, he couldn't get it up.
Yeah, remember that? Why do comics movies always use that plot line? There's always a plot line of they did it with Hulk in Infinity War. Right. He can't get it up. He did it with the web shit. Why is that always like the underlying tone that a hero goes through?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. I don't know. But it's embarrassing, actually.
Like, y'all should knock it off. No more. Just like we don't need to save the universe every 15 minutes. Right. We don't need everyone to have erectile dysfunction in the comics. We don't need that. Y'all can stop. Like, everyone doesn't need to lose their powers. Like, and that's kind of, when we get into the Blue Beetle, one of my critiques is it does just feel like another, just your average comic book hero story.
Keep talking, Mike. You're gonna dumb this thing down to a 6.
I know, right? No, I'm going to get 7.5. All right, so Garfield, if he's in Venom 3, I actually would watch it. I'd actually go back and watch Venom 2 first, just if this was true.
Right.
All right, I think that is it for our news. So, Newsflash Buddy this week is my man James Gunn. Yep. That's just getting the award. We'll see who takes it next week. All right, fun stuff. Why don't we hop right into our Blue Beetle deep dive, and that way we can finish strong with the Guardian Hidden Gem.
Okay.
All right, so deep dive Blue Beetle. This is your spoiler warning. If you continue on with us, the movie will be spoiled. I would suggest if you haven't seen it yet, stop this podcast right now. Go watch the movie. I think it's worth it. So, Blue Beetle, where do we start, man? This is Palmyra City.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not familiar with Palmyra City. I'm assuming this is supposed to be DC's version of like a Miami
or Mexico. I don't know.
Well, I think it's in the U.S. So, and they do say that they are Mexican in this movie.
Right.
It's funny sometimes when there's like when there's not a white race in a movie, like they're Hispanic, they just kind of allude to them being Hispanic and they don't even tell you where they're from.
Right.
So I'm glad they kind of went all in on that. So I think Palmyra City, it feels like it's a version of Miami.
Okay.
So anyways, first time we get to see the city, very like update, modern city, almost looks like, some of these cities you see over in the Middle East, Dubai and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did have that scene where they were on the roof or whatever.
Yep. So I like the city. And I appreciate, this is one thing that I think DC, this is an advantage that they have over Marvel that, if they use it properly, I think it would be great. So Marvel takes place in the real world.
Yep.
Right? there's real cities, New York. It's probably, now it's funny to say that they're grounded, but a little more grounded.
Sure.
DC takes place in a fictional world.
Mm-hmm.
It's our world, kind of.
Right.
But there's cities that don't exist here. Metropolis, Gotham, Palmyra City. And I think that is something that really separates the two. And it's funny that this first phase of these DC movies is gods and monsters. It's more mystic, more kind of more out there. So I think DC has that advantage of being more of a fictional place, not really grounded in reality. Mm-hmm. Now, if they use it to their advantage, it could be an advantage, right?
Right.
But so I like the world building. That's always a big part of any movie for me, especially comic book movies. Adrian, is the world building, which Guardians Galaxy, speak of James Gunn, did a great job of world building in those movies.
Yep.
So I like that here. Mm-hmm. How about you? How'd you feel about Palmyra City, the setting for this movie?
I also felt that it had that Dubai-esque
Yeah.
kind of feel to it, especially when they were up on the roof and they were looking out over the city. Everything very modern, everything very, very up to date. So it looked clean.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they were listening to us early on about how dark their movies are.
Yeah.
And they went over the top to make this the opposite of all of that other stuff.
Yeah. And one thing I appreciate with any movie that they do now, like, is when the look, when it's different, right? And this was different because you said they've been crazy dark, so it was brighter. Blue Beetle, so there's plenty of blues everywhere. Right. I like, and it's hard because they've done so many superhero movies and shows, and we've seen so many different powers on screen. And at some point, a lot of them just kind of blend and look the same. I think that happens sometimes, especially in some Marvel movies. But we've seen, like, in one movie, which is actually a really bad movie, but in what I'm talking about here, I think it excelled, was the Eternals. Mm-hmm. The powers and stuff were very unique in that movie. I don't think we've seen anything like that prior to or since then. Mm-hmm. I mean, outside of that, the movie was boring as shit.
Right.
I'd probably watch that same turtle roll the rock down if they made it Eternals 2.
Oh my God.
But maybe I'll just watch the CGI and just turn like the rest of the sound off or something. But I like the way the powers, a scarab. It was very unique. It was different. The movie it starts like they get right into it. We see them trying to find the scarab, right, some time back or whatnot. And there's this government agency, right? What are they called? Cord
Industries or whatever.
Yep. Which we realize like they're pretty much the government and the cops and stuff like that, right? This is kind of like we were just talking about Marvel living in reality, where Marvel, they're in New York City, they got the NYPD there,
right?
Here in this DC movie, the cops are Cord, this industry, this company, like private police, pretty much,
right?
So you kind of already get the feeling that they're up to something.
Yep.
One of the things about the film, which I think they didn't flesh out enough for me, was Carapax, I guess was his name, the main villain.
Okay, yeah.
The dude with like the red power and stuff. Because throughout this movie, I didn't know who the main villain was. Was it him? Was it the lady? It's almost like they didn't really go all in there. So I would, here you go. You're talking about me talking myself down a little bit. But I was not really crazy about his presentation. I feel like it fell a little flat. How'd you feel about Carapax, or however you say his name?
I thought he was just like a bodyguard.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole movie, pretty much he was throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
I got sick of seeing Susan Sarandon's character, midway point.
Yeah.
But to me, he was just a strong arm throughout the whole process. He kind of redeemed himself at the end, but still just a bodyguard.
Yeah. Dude, Susan Sarandon's character though was a badass at some point. She was a fucking bitch, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah, but she wasn't that Sonya level.
No.
I mean, she was just. It's just. I get my own thing later on, but
she was just nasty. But yeah, you're right. So you're still high on Sonya. Like that's kind of the bar for a character like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I agree. Sonya's a much better character than this chick, Victoria Cord. And I think the thing I said earlier in our toe dip was there's just a lot thrown at you in this movie in the beginning. All this scarab stuff, and I get it. They got to introduce something new, but I do feel like one of the biggest issues with this movie is too much packed into this.
Yeah,
there's just too much. And I don't know, is it because they're afraid that they won't get a sequel, so they got to get as much in here? It's I don't know the reason, but so we meet Jaime and his family.
Yep.
We talked about their dynamic. Now, you also, I mean, you grew up, or you got Hispanic people in your family, right? So you kind of know that culture a little bit. How did you feel about their representation and what you saw? How true to the culture was it?
I like the culture aspect. Obviously, I don't really know that much about the Mexican aspect of the Hispanic part, as opposed to the Puerto Rican side. But I thought so I can't say if it was true to life.
Okay.
I did find it kind of over the top. It was almost like they were trying to press the Hispanic side to kind of push it in your face kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that part.
That's a little much for you,
right?
Yeah.
I thought that they were trying to be too funny throughout the movie. A lot of stuff didn't make sense to me. Like how do you have a world killing device, right, sitting on a table, some dude just leaves the room unsecured? How does Jenny just walk into a super secret lab and take this thing out, right? How does she
in his fast food box
in a fast food box, right? It's just so much stuff that that's why I say they did things to kind of just move the movie along. They're running through the caves and the ceiling collapses. Don't you think that you would be like, don't say anything, just keep run faster to push you and the other person out the way. Right. You don't sit there and have a conversation and let the ceiling fall in between you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just stupid stuff. I mean, did I fall asleep or did I during the pee break? When did they come up with the bug thing? How does a whole family know how to fly a spaceship in the basement? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
The grandma, I mean, she was obviously some kind of rebel leader,
right?
At some point in her life. I mean, she just kind of took over the show at some point. It was just a lot of stupid stuff like that kind of pissed me off. I found myself watching my watch. I'm like, when is this movie going to be over with? I read that it was 2 hours and 7 minutes, and I'm like, an hour and a half. I'm like, dude, can this just end?
Yeah.
I was so pissed off at the end of the movie. I didn't even watch the trailers after.
Oh damn!
After the post credit stuff,
I
was out.
We'll get into them, but you didn't miss much. There was a lot of silliness. I get. You know what they call that, Adrian? They call it tomfoolery. Tomfoolery.
All right.
There was a lot of tomfoolery in this movie.
Like Tom Cruise foolery, like he's jumping up and down on the couch in front of Oprah.
I think that's actually the origin of that word. We'll have to look it up one day. We'll do an origin of words on this podcast someday. But the origin story for the word tomfoolery, I think it's based around Tom Cruise jumping on the couch. You're right. So there was a lot of tomfoolery in this movie. The point you're talking about, them just getting the scarab. Now, I talked about there are a lot of aspects of the George Lopez character that I like. Yeah. But this is one. I guess we're giving them the bad news first, right? One of the things I didn't like, and this also was to your, I don't want to call it a plot hole or just more tomfoolery, was this is his uncle who sleeps on his couch, right?
Right.
Now he's got this expensive truck, right?
Right.
So the guy who sleeps on the couch, who's the irresponsible uncle, has the nice car in the family.
Right.
Okay, I guess maybe I could buy that. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also a tech whiz.
Right.
Why does everyone in every comic book movie have to be a genius, a tech whiz, a scientist? Why?
Right.
Where are they finding all these people?
And if they got all this talent in this family, I mean, you got a cyclone rebel for a grandmother, right? That could do all this stuff. You got this genius that pulled a bug spaceship, out of his ass.
Yep.
Why are you renting?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you about to lose your house?
Yep.
Go and do something. Pull a rabbit out of cyborg rabbit out of your hat and go sell it or something.
And this is in a universe where this, we haven't talked about this yet. It seems as if superpowers and heroes and all this stuff has already been established. This wasn't 08 Iron Man where there's no supers yet, and we're just starting to see this.
Right.
This is a world. It looks like the DCU. We're going to be going into this where it's already been an established world.
Right.
Which is cool. It's different.
Right.
So if that's the case, and you have, like you said, Grandma who's Rambo over there.
Right.
You got my man who's flying like. Does Tom Cruise fly in any of his Mission Impossible movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the scene with the bike off the
Yeah.
off the cliff. Yeah. He does some flying.
So we got, all of a sudden his uncle's Tom Cruise, the
Right.
Mexican version.
Yep.
And he can just fly any, alien spaceship, because
Right.
why wouldn't he be able to?
Right.
Because he can drive a truck.
But seriously, did I miss that part? Is that the little gadget that he was working on?
No. Where they get the ship from?
Yeah.
No, that was at when they went to that abandoned mansion that may or may not have been a copycat of Wayne Mansion, but
Right.
like the thing we just saw in the Flash with the abandoned mansion. And
Yep, yep.
So, anyways, when they went there, Jenny,
Yep.
she opened up a room and this ship was down below.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like her dad's tech.
And then, but that they all, through metamorphosis or whatever, knew how to fly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I would assume, an alien spaceship's probably easier to learn how to fly than driving a car, right? It makes sense.
Or everybody getting a job and saving your house. I'm just saying.
You think getting a job's easier than flying an alien spaceship?
Apparently not. Apparently not.
Not in the DCU.
Not in James Gunn's world.
Nope, not in his garage. Maybe they just got lights for the garage and they filmed it there. So yeah, these are, we're gonna chalk this up on Only Comics as just more tomfoolery.
Right. You down to 6 yet?
No, I'm at a solid 7, I think.
Okay.
Man, this is bad. Now, I will reiterate something we've said week in and week out on here, Adrian. We're not experts.
Right.
We're not real critics. We're just fans. We're only fans. Well, this ain't only fans. We're only fans on Only Comics. That's all. No, this ain't that. No one's taking their clothes off here.
Right.
But this is Only Comics. We are not experts. We are not critics. We're just fans. So yeah, this is gonna be classic. I started at 8.
Right.
I think I'm gonna go to 7. I'm gonna stick there. I'm gonna stick it at 7.
Okay. Well, you said that at 7.5 too.
Man.
But let's keep going.
I'm not gonna gun this. I'm not gonna go half it. I'm going all in. I'm staying at 7.
Okay.
I'm getting all my critiques out now. So the tomfoolery. Let's talk about more of the tomfoolery.
We get you down to a solid 6.
You think so? I'm not budging, dude. 7's where I'm staying. I promise that. So there's that. Yeah, the spaceship thing, like I said, took away a lot. The whole, everyone has all these talents, but they're still losing their house, that type of stuff. The fight scenes wasn't too crazy about a lot of the hand-to-hand combat scenes. They just seem very soft.
Well, I mean, you got this alien parasite basically, whispering in his head, don't kill anybody. I thought from the sets of technology that he could have pulled out, considering that, he could make anything that he can imagine.
Right.
Most of that stuff was just stupid. You come in there and you're in this corporation is about to massacre your family. I would have bombed the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
To get rid of these guys. I mean, no soft gloves at all, but that's exactly what he pulled out. Some sonic thing, to bounce these guys off or whatever. Then they getting up and, this and that and blah, 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 blah. Oh, I would have went all out.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have ended a bunch. And there was the other thing that I didn't like about it. A bunch of the fights, he could have just walked down the hall and not even thought about it and just wiped out all of them.
Exactly.
Why you hand-to-hand combating dudes in a tunnel instead of just zapping them?
Right.
Just get rid of him, move on.
Yeah. And it was like inconsistent with the Scarab. At some point the Scarab controlled the suit entirely. Sometimes they lean more on Jaime. Like, I guess it depended on what they needed for the story, right?
Exactly.
And that's the kind of stuff that, that's what we chalk up to tomfoolery. That's stuff that just doesn't make sense,
right.
6.5. No, I'm still at 7. Because to me, it's like it's a balance of things I really liked and things I really didn't. There was no in the middle with this movie. I really liked the representation. I think the characters. I think it was well casted. Everyone from the dad to the grandma I love the sister. The sister was hilarious.
Right.
Their actually dynamic reminded me of like my daughter and my son. Like so that was cool to see. But it's like these things were so great, and then these other things, it was like a clash. I was very conflicted watching this movie. I'm like, I like it, I love it, I hate it. I like it, I love it, I hate it. I kind of went through that the entire time.
Yeah. No, I got stuck on this kind of sucks, and it just stayed there. It just got worse. Then they had that T'Challa in the dead world scene. Yeah. They kind of stole that, which sucked. Yep. But they metamorphosized that into like in the Flash, where the Flash was in this room, time room.
Yep.
So they kind of like made those two scenes one thing. So that was it was actually offensive. To watch that. It's like, dude, all the stuff that you can do, make it original.
Right. And I think that'd be my last big critique, is that this movie seemed like they took bits and pieces of a bunch of other movies to make this movie.
Yep.
I mean, it did feel, we were, one of the things we were worried about last week, Adrian, was the whole, is it going to feel too much like a Spider-Man, Venom, Iron Man ripoff? Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't call it a ripoff, but there was definitely a lot of things like, the losing the dad. It didn't hit for me at all.
Right.
I think because so much was happening at that point, I feel like that was a wasted death.
Right. Absolutely. And they set that up from the beginning. As soon as he got there, hey, he had we're losing a house, and dad had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, even to the point where they showed him taking his pills.
Yep.
So, that was probably a known thing. It wasn't like an Uncle Ben thing,
right,
or Batman's parents,
yep,
or Dick Grayson's family. Those are sudden things. They set this up, from the very beginning, and it was just a wasted part of the movie altogether. I'm back down to 5 now. Forget the 5.5. It was. I'm sticking to a solid 5.
Solid 5 or 4?
All right, whatever I started out
4.
With. It was a 4.
Yeah.
Okay,
because I originally said 8, and you cut
definitely
mine
down.
out.
It's definitely back down to a 4.
All right, down to a 4. Man, we're the only show where the ratings drop as we go through the review. We start high,
Right.
Yeah, and it's almost like having the George Lopez character being so good overshadow the dad.
Right.
So, and because they focused more on George Lopez throughout, like, most of the scenes, they gave him all the funny stuff. All like the cool stuff was the uncle.
Right. I mean, he became ridiculous at some point too.
It was too much for him.
It was too much. I mean, the whole setup. Like I said, he looks like a castaway Hell's Angel, but he's driving this expensive vehicle. But I'm a genius.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, but and then everybody can fly the spaceship that he just found in a Bruce Wayne's old house.
I do. Yeah, you summed it up pretty well there. I do not like the whole everything just works out regardless. Like it and what it does is, we were just talking earlier about the whole universe being at stake and grounded. What it does is it makes it feel like there's no stakes.
Right.
And I do think that one of the biggest issues with comic movies today is that there's never any stakes anymore.
Right.
You just know that they're going to make it out okay.
Right.
And this movie was like that. At the minute there was a problem, it was solved like this. Mm-hmm. To the point where they did it so much that when the dad did die, you didn't even, it's almost like you were glad something bad happened.
Right.
You didn't even care.
Right. That's sad, that you have a supposedly polarizing moment like that, or this intense moment, and it's just like okay, this scene is as ridiculous as the entire family knowing how to fly a spaceship.
Yep, and use any weapon they just pick up.
Use any weapon they did pick up.
Yep. So anyway, I'm sticking with a 7. Anything else we want to talk about from this movie? Anything else that stood out to you?
Them going supersonic at the end, Jenny and Jaime.
Yep.
Without the helmets. I mean, that was kind of like
more
over the
tomfoolery.
More tomfoolery. I mean, you're gonna get the wind sucked out of you.
Yep.
You know, at those speeds and bugs and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, they should at least enclose them in a bubble before they took off. It's just ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Why did she show up on a motorcycle as opposed to being? I mean, she's now the CEO of this major company,
right,
and she decides to ride a bike over there.
Of course, why not? Yeah.
It would have made more sense if she came over with a limo, at least the driver
Yeah.
could have, now they're gonna get their bike stolen or whatever.
You know what that reminded me of, and this is where we talk about comics and things that tie back to them. The Fast and Furious movies.
Right.
You notice in the past few, Letty is always on a motorcycle.
No.
They're riding through the fucking jungle, and then she's
right.
like, you know what? Hey, Dom, you take that safe Charger that's all like, roll cage and all that stuff. I'll just hop on this motorcycle. I'll be okay.
She's a badass now.
Yeah.
She's invincible.
Yeah, absolutely. They got a lot of tomfoolery going on in those movies,
Right,
too.
Right. Why don't Marvel or DC just make how they take like Santa Claus and God and make them entities in the comics? Why don't you just take the Fast and Furious cast and just make them some kind of superhero or something?
Might as well. They'll be like the new Avengers. They'll make a Thunderbolts movie with them.
Right.
Yo, add Vin Diesel, add Dom
you
Toretto
go.
to the Thunderbolts.
There you go.
Let's just do that.
Yep.
I mean, screw it. We're just picking every obscure character.
Right.
We'll add Vin Diesel,
Letty,
and Tom Cruise.
there you go.
Yep. And
There you
Ali
go.
Salim. He could be leading them on his bike. The Thunderbolts will just follow him off into the sunset.
Yep.
Last thing about the movie, there was in the mid credit scene, there was a distorted recording from the Bat Mansion, the little lab, the little the Blue Beetle, the Beetle Cave, I guess we'll call it, right down in the Beetle Cave,
Right.
They go back to the cave or whatnot, and the computer kind of wakes up, and there's a message from Ted, who's Jenny's dad,
Right.
and basically saying like, I'm alive, pretty much.
Right.
So, assuming that they do continue this movie after this, or this story after this movie bombs, we're gonna probably see some type of rescue mission for Ted, her dad. So I think that's where they're going next.
Okay.
So that was a little tease, which makes everyone think that this is going to continue into the DCU along with James Gunn's cosign. So.
Well, actually, that's also kind of a ripoff from Iron Man, because Iron Man's father was supposed to have died and wanted to come in the animated series.
Yep.
Somebody blew up the plane or whatever, and Tony escaped, but he was actually somewhere else, and they found him later, kind of a deal. So it's almost like nothing in this movie is original at this point.
Right. Yep. Same old shit. So I'm sticking with a 7.
Okay.
I'd say I highly recommend watching this movie. But again, it's not perfect. It is better than a lot of things that we've seen. Going back to the questions I asked you, was Blue Beetle better than Black Adam? I'm just gonna say no.
Yep.
I'm gonna agree with you. I'll say no. Was Blue Beetle better than the 2 Suicide Squad movies? Yes.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes.
Yep. Was Blue Beetle better than Birds of Prey? You haven't seen this. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
It was not better than Guardians.
No.
It was not better than The Flash. I mean, it was better than The Flash. Sorry.
Dude.
Hold on. I don't cut anything out of these. I'll cut that part out. Blue Beetle was way better than The Flash.
Right.
And I will it be better than Aquaman 2? I think that's the next DC movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they probably set themselves up for failure with the second Aquaman. Because one did so well.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I think they may be setting themselves up for kind of a disappointing run with the second one. So, but we'll compare it here, right here on Only Comics once it does come out.
Yep, you're damn right. I got a hot take, Adrian. Here we go. It's been building up. So, Aquaman.
Yep.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the name of this movie. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you remember this, but this movie does not take place in the DCU. It takes place in the DCEU.
Okay.
Same universe as the Snyder films, Batman vs. Superman, the universe that was canceled.
Right.
There also was a Batgirl movie that was filmed, done. It featured Michael Keaton's Batman. It featured, I think, even I want to say Ben Affleck maybe was in it too. It was filmed. It was ready to go. They were going to put it out on streaming. Then I think they were going to put it out in the theater. Then they straight up canceled it. And there was
just like the show.
Yep, just like the show. They canceled it before it was released, and there was a lot of pushback, backlash from the fans. I believe this was going to be part of the news story. I could be wrong about that, but we're going to cancel that movie. We're going to start the new DCU. But hey, guys, in the middle of the DCU, we're going to drop Aquaman, which was part of the old universe that was canceled.
Right.
So here's my hot take. Don't release this movie. Why do we need to see Aquaman 2 if it's not going to matter?
Right.
If it's not going to move, if it's part of a dying story, who cares? Now, like you said, we'll review it because, we review the movies here. It's what we do.
Right.
But this is a movie I'm probably least excited. I'd rather go watch The Flash again. I know you don't agree with that part.
I don't agree with that.
But do you care about Aquaman 2 knowing like this is, the death of this story?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not for those reasons. But again, Aquaman was supposed to be like the underwater version of Superman.
Yeah.
But he just never took off as a character. He was relegated to one of those sidekick kind of a roles. So he's not big on my superhero list. He wouldn't even make my top 25.
No.
But they did a very good job with this reboot of the Aquaman. I would be interested to see it if it came out.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be upset, or I probably wouldn't even think about it if it didn't.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal to me.
So here's my take. Release Batgirl instead of Aquaman 2. Cancel Aquaman 2. Nobody cares. I did the research for you guys. Nobody cares. Don't let Tom Cruise watch it. No.
Right.
Don't ask him for his feedback. Cancel that movie and release Batgirl. There you have it. All right. Hidden gem, Adrian. Who's our hidden gem this week?
The hidden gem this week is The Guardian. Yep. The Guardian is he eventually became like a superpower.
Okay.
But he started out as a doctor, and he made a suit for oil exploration. Okay. So this suit, it had force fields, it had blasters, things like that. Yeah. So the Guardian was the Canadian version of it was created as a Canadian version of Captain America. Okay. Basically. Kind of like Captain Britain, things like that. Yeah. So different, kind of a
similar
spin-off.
Powers, but
not similar powers at all.
Okay.
No. The suit enabled him to fire blasters, force fields, fly at supersonic speeds. Okay. He had this one thing where he basically could visually it looked like teleportation. Yeah. But what actually happens is the Earth moves, right? Yeah. At like 700 to 1,000
unless you believe it's flat.
Unless you believe it's flat. But what he has the ability to do is stop himself in that movement. So he instantly moves. Well, actually, he stays and the world keeps moving.
Okay.
So it looks like he just moves somewhere like teleportation, but he's not actually teleporting.
He just stops, but he knows how to stop to move to where he needs to
Exactly. So some extreme thing, he can just pop out of the way.
Got it.
So
what made you pick this character?
Well, one, most of the stuff we talk about is, and this is my thing with comic book content. There's so much content out there. There's so many characters out there. We don't need to be pulling these obscure, characters that do pretty much nothing. Yeah. When we have other powerful out of the country, U.S. doesn't have the the gold statue on superheroes. Right. There's other superheroes outside of the country. Yep. And he was the leader of Alpha Flight. Yep. Which included a Hulk reproduction in Sasquatch. Okay. There was this little guy, Puck.
Yeah, I remember Puck.
Don't want to call him a midget, but he was tiny. Okay. He had these acrobatic abilities. There was Shaman. She could I think she was metaphysical kind of. So it was a pretty good team. It was like the Avengers. Okay. And the Guardian was the leader of that team.
And actually, Alpha Flight.
Alpha Flight.
And Wolverine was an Alpha Flight.
Well, he helped create it because the guy who was the The Guardian character, he saw the Fantastic Four and he wanted to make a team like that.
Okay.
And Wolverine, who he and his girlfriend found, during his Weapon X days, Wolverine helped them develop this team. And he was supposed to be the leader. Wolverine was supposed to be the leader, but he did whatever. He got out of the Canadian thing and went rogue, which is what he does.
Right.
And so
he was being Wolverine.
Right. So the Guardian became the leader of Alpha Flight.
Got it. So crazy powerful.
Yep.
Kind of the answer, Canada's answer to Captain America.
Right.
And started this group, like you said, was pretty much Avengers of Canada.
Right.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. But I was surprised because when we first discussed this segment, I was like, I'm probably not going to know any of these characters. And when you sent it over, I'm like, I didn't recognize the name. But then when I saw him, like, oh, shit. I thought it was Vindicator.
Right.
Which is, I guess, another name he goes by at
right.
time, right?
Right.
And where I saw him was in the X-Men animated series. There was an episode, God, it was, I want to say Wolverine went back to, or he rejoined Alpha Flight or something like that.
He probably did a toe dip, and I mean, and he's done that. He toe dips into these different teams to do whatever because understandably, Wolverine is Canadian.
Right.
So, he's going to be, bouncing around and he's, going in and out. So who knows? Yeah.
So some reason he ended up maybe back in Canada. Somehow he crossed paths with them again. And this is where we all learned. And it was cool because I had no idea he was ever part. I never knew what Alpha Flight was.
Yeah.
I learned in this show. And then they added more to his origin where you're like, you learn that, he came from there first.
Right.
So he kind of had, I thought he kind of like rejoined them, which caused some friction between the X-Men. And again, I said, we're not an expert. I could be making the whole shit up. I don't know. I was young. Dude. I was probably like 10 years old watching this.
Right.
But I remember them from there, and I thought it was pretty cool, the suits or whatnot. And it's a very different looking suit, too.
Right, right. Big Canadian flag, definitely prominent, like the Captain America suit.
Yep.
It's definitely prominent. No misunderstanding about who he's representing. But it's kind of like an Iron Man kind of a suit.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not like a Iron Man kind of suit because it's like a skin tight mesh on top of him. It's not like, because Iron Man's stuff gear looks like battle gear.
Right. Yeah. It looks like armor.
Right.
Yeah.
The Guardian suit looks like every other superhero suit, like cloth, but it's not. It's actually a whole layers of basically electronics sitting on top of him.
Yeah. Well, here's what it says. Wikipedia says, skin-tight technological battlesuit composed of steel mesh, which serves as an exoskeleton, allows him to fly, fire energy blasts, and have a personal force field for defense. Yep. A pretty badass suit.
Yeah.
Dude, this would be a cool group to see on screen.
I think so. Yeah. I definitely think so.
It's like, one of the things that we have seen at times, is Marvel or even DC at times taking characters that were not crazy popular. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be honest. Iron Man was not the most popular character.
Right.
You were an Iron Man fan growing up.
Yep.
But, I mean, more people were fans of, the Wolverines, the Supermans, the Batmans, the Captain, the Spider-Man, right? Like, if prior to the MCU, if you had a list of most popular comic characters, I don't think Iron Man would rank that high.
Really? I mean, I'm being biased because I've always liked him, but you're probably right.
And I think the movies and Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal really helped bring Iron Man's popularity up, massive amounts of levels.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that.
And I feel like this is a group, Alpha Flight, where they could do the same thing.
Yep.
It's something that most people are not going to recognize. Mm-hmm. You'll probably get a handful of people like me who remember them from the animated series. There's probably people that crossed them in some other comics, right?
Right.
But it's not Spider-Man level of popularity.
Right. But I mean, they're definitely worth looking into, and that could, those adventures, the Canadian adventures, or how Alpha Flight integrates with the X-Men.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a whole different set of popular comics. You know, stop trying to make USA. Pushing these characters. There's so much other content again that these movies could do, but they just choose to make this offshoot garbage.
Yep, no doubt. So yeah, I would love to see that. I think that would be cool, man. Alpha Flight. So do that. Hey, instead of the Thunderbolts, an Alpha Flight movie.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd definitely go for that.
That'd be better.
Yeah.
Yep. But it probably won't happen because I don't think you can fit all those characters in James Gunn's garage, even though he's not even part of Marvel anymore. But you never know. So there you have it. Week 1 of Hidden Gem, The Guardian. Now, where did you first find out about this character? Were you reading Alpha Flight comics, or how did you even find him?
Crossover from the X-Men.
Okay.
Their run-ins with the with Wolverine specifically.
Got it.
Then there's other things too. But, with these hidden gems, we're also not gonna limit it to the superheroes. There's also villains and other characters
absolutely
that are noteworthy as well.
Speaking of, is there a main villain nemesis for Guardian and or the Alpha Flight group?
I don't recall.
Okay.
But we can get into it later.
Yeah, like I said, we're not experts, but yeah, no one really sticks out. At least I don't remember from my little experience, or at least what we read over the past couple of days about this. But Guardian's pretty badass dude. So should we include the Guardian in the King of the Comics tournament?
No, because the top 35 or so characters, there's so many power sets.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even really. I mean, are we gonna do like powers, or are we just gonna do abilities? Meaning, like, Batman, Iron Man.
Yeah.
They don't have powers, but
Right.
they have tech, which gives them abilities.
Yeah, I think we got to include him. Yeah.
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 Okay, then we can throw
All
the
right,
Guardian.
So Guardian's in there. He's our
Yep.
first pick. Guardian. All right. Next week you'll find out who he's facing in week 1. All right. Well, there you have it for Hidden Gem. There you have it for our Blue Beetle review. I got one last question for you, Adrian. This something I've been thinking about, because the MCU right now is, I'd say it's not firing on all cylinders. Is that a fair statement?
Yep.
I think and now the strike's not helping.
Right.
Because the strike's happening after a series of pretty bad movies.
Yep.
Would Marvel be better off to do a reboot like DC's doing? Or should they continue and try to save this story and keep this main story going?
I think these reboots is confusing.
Yeah.
I think that they should do a review, double down on the main characters that already exist, and make the story and strengthen the storyline.
Yeah.
So in other words, I think they should continue instead of trying to remake all this thing, because what they're saying is, we made so many mistakes, we can't fix them, so let's just throw it all away and start all over again, which is what DC is doing.
Yeah.
Instead of just doubling down, doing a better job of creating content, they're just throwing everything away, including the actors and the writers and everybody else.
Yep.
Not getting rid of the directors, but throwing everything else away and starting over with old people.
Yeah. Got it. So you think this is salvageable?
Yes, I think it's
Got
salvageable.
it. Last question. Do you think Marvel will salvage it, though? It's salvageable. Do you think they will get the job done?
I'm not sure. They've pretty much, Marvel is a big question mark for me right now. Pretty much everything that they're doing, the people that they're leaning on.
Yep.
So I'm just waiting and seeing right now. I'm on the fence. I'm up there with Jaime and his sister, looking out in the city.
It's a good one. Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, so what do y'all say? What do y'all think? Should Marvel reboot? I agree with you. I don't think they should reboot. I think they got too much invested in this story.
Right.
I don't even like that DC rebooted.
Right.
I wish they would have just fixed it, or did like a soft reboot, got rid of some characters and kept them moving.
Sure.
But hey, they're there now, right? It's like once the toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put that shit back in.
Right.
So I agree. I don't think they should reboot. I do think it's salvageable, and God, will they salvage it? I'm gonna say yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think they will. I think when it's all said and done, we will be happy with the overall multiversal saga. I do.
Okay. I mean, I'm invested in this either way.
Yeah.
So I have hopes that they will.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna say whether or not they will. It's just like I said, I'm just kind of on the fence on this thing because there's just this big question mark on them right now for me.
Yeah. Yep. So I hope they do, because it makes this a lot more fun, just being a part. Because like you said, I'm kind of like, I'm here for the ride, dude. I've been a lifelong comics fan. I'm not going to tap out now. Mm-hmm. But like after, feel like these movies just hit you in the face left and right. It's like, can we get a break, dude?
Right.
Back up a little bit. I need some distance. I need to recover a little bit. But yeah, so, hey, remains to be seen. Now, next up for Marvel will be a couple months, the Marvels. So we're going to have a break from some movies for a little bit.
Right.
There's a show, what's coming out the end of September? Gen V.
Okay.
The Boys spinoff.
Yep.
So that's coming up in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a trailer out yet or if any. What I've read about it, and The Boys was just so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. So that's coming up next, and there's some Marvel shows in the fall. But next week we'll start the King of the Comics tournament. That'll be a lot of fun. We already know first participant's Guardian.
Okay.
Dude, imagine if he faces Wolverine first round. It'd be interesting.
I think they've gone toe to toe in the comics once or twice. Yeah.
I think they actually did in the series. I think that's kind of at some point he was fighting against them.
Right.
Yeah.
But that force field saved his life. You know?
So it'll be interesting, and that will be a lot of fun. So guys, as always, appreciate you guys checking in, joining us, the likes, the follows, the comments. We love it. Yes, we're going to give you hot takes. No, you're probably not going to agree with us all the time. There's even some tomfoolery going on this podcast at times. We're guilty as charged. But it's all in good fun. So let us know. Sound off. Do you agree? Do you not? One thing is, though, we will remain opinionated. We will remain giving you hot takes, and we're going to remain hitting you square in the fucking mouth with the truth. That's what we do here. We speak the truth, Adrian.
New word. Tom Cruisery.
Tom Cruisery.
Yeah, I like that, right? No, that's ridiculous, right?
There's a lot of Tom Cruisery going on. Tom Cruisery, here's what Tom Cruisery is. I'm going to define your new word.
Okay, gotcha.
It's when a studio sends the movie to an actor who has nothing to do with that genre to review the movie, hoping that that's going to help out in marketing. That was the Flash's marketing plan was Tom Cruisery.
Gotcha.
Not to be confused with tomfoolery. Mm-hmm. Their whole marketing plan behind The Flash was to send the movie to Tom Cruise, Stephen King, James Gunn, and get them to sign off on it. And it didn't work. So would you say, Adrian, Tom Cruisery, on a scale from 1 to 10, how effective is marketing your film with Tom Cruisery?
Well, which film?
Any film. Using that Tom Cruisery method.
Let me think about that.
I'm going to say about a 2.
You gotta. That's. Yeah, I agree.
About a 2. It's not effective at all. It didn't work. No one saw it. So, anyways, fun show, Adrian. Thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you back here next week on Only Comics. Hit the subscribe button. Check out some other videos if you like this one. We're going to keep doing our things, keep giving you our hot takes, our stances, and like you said a few weeks ago, we got the goods. Our predictions. No, my prediction was right. I said there was not going to be any DC cameos in this movie.
You're right. Your prediction was right about that.
Yeah.
Whether or not you secretly sticking to that 7.
I am.
I don't think you are. I think in your mind you're down like around a 5 or something. But I had high expectations for this movie.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't work out. I'm on a solid 4 with that.
Man.
I thought it was going to be at least a 7, but it just didn't do it for me.
Adrian, as someone who was wrong one time here on the podcast, I'm just going to let you know, dude, you're going to bounce back. It's okay. This is your first loss. The first one the whole time.
You know what the real deal is, though?
What?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
It's my opinion.
Exactly.
And I got a right to change it or whatever. So.
Absolutely. But just so you know, you can recover it because we're used to being on hot streaks on this.
Right.
Not only do we give you hot takes, we're on hot streaks, dude. We're rarely wrong. So there you have it. You saw Adrian was wrong about one prediction. I was wrong about one a few weeks ago. It's okay. We'll be all right.
Right.
We ain't worried about it. So, anyways, good show. Thanks for joining me, dude.
Yep.
I'm Mike. This is Adrian. We will see you next week right here on Only Comics.